Oh, that do count. Okay. All right.
Thanks for the exposure. Good morning. Does it work as I can? Not too much delay, but good morning, everyone. Good morning. We're here to have a memorial for Laurie Johnson Smith, who sadly passed away last Christmas morning. For those here who only knew Laurie but never met her husband, the luck is just running. I'm Paul Smith, Laurie's husband for a full third of a century. Laurie was consistently and by far the better half of this team, and her passing has been difficult for many people, but her life is well worth remembering. Before we start in earnest, there are a few logistical, safety, and program announcements to be made. We have this room for the formal memorial until noon. Since Laurie was raised and lived in a non-religious manner, I'm not saying, this wasn't anti-religious, but just with no religion. There is no overlay of religious ritual to guide the structure of this memorial. I'll give the opening remarks, hopefully not too emotionally and in not too much of my typically long-winded, incoherent style. For those who know me, I hate public speaking just as much as I hate the Boston Bruins. So the chances are good that my remarks will not approach the length of a standard Bruckner symphony. After I finish, or I'm chased away by an impatient crowd, I'm inviting those in the audience who would like to say some words about their experiences with Laurie to do so. Please introduce yourself when you gain control of the mic. After we finish here at Angel Valley, those who wish can attend the informal part of the memorial as we move it to Laurie's house, and it largely remains her house. I can only vouch for the choice of TV, the piece of furniture that the holy TV sits on, a couple of telescopes, and a classical CD collection. The rest is all Laurie, as it rightfully should be, since she chose the house back in 1992. For those astronomers in the audience, yes, we were only in cycle 2 of the Hubble Space Telescope mission. Thanks to Laurie, the house turned into a wonderful home and a home base for our various travel expeditions. The address is at 2790 East King Street and is less than a 5-minute drive from here. If unsure of a location, please speak to me. Again, we'll finish here no later than noon in good time for lunch. There will be snacks and drinks at the house, but if you really need a true lunch, my recommendation is for you to go have lunch and then come over to the house. We'll keep the doors open all afternoon and into the early evening for people to visit at their convenience. Now, a quick safety announcement. Wonderful people have come to this memorial from various places and walks of life. There is a particular group well represented here, that is astronomers and staff associated with Stewart Observatory at the University of Arizona. Do not feed them. It will only foster continued dependence on the general public, and you'll never get rid of them until they realize that the food is all gone. All here today provide a good representative sample of Laurie's most important legacy and the one that was dearest to her. The people who enriched her life as she enriched theirs, her friends, family, and colleagues. There was not a period in her life, starting with grade school, that Laurie did not accrue sincere, loyal, and lifelong close friends. Evidence with the tremendous depth of her numerous friendships was amply shown to me during her struggle with cancer. The amount of support and assistance that we both received during this difficult period was amazing and showed most clearly the wonderful kindness and human decency that underpinned all of her friendships. Many people contributed to making Laurie's impossible situation as civilized and as gentle as possible. And first, I would like to thank all of the healthcare professionals and researchers who treated Laurie and were able to take some measure of the physical and mental pain away. Among them were, of course, the colleagues and friends Laurie made during her long career as a nurse and then as a nurse practitioner. All of the wonderful attributes that Laurie showed throughout her life and career, like compassion, humanity, empathy, and the great breadth of knowledge of how to best care for patients in various situations, are mirrored by all of those who came to her aid and comfort in her final year. Added to this were the numerous visits by other friends and family that also kept her spirits up and allowed her to have moments of joy and to say goodbye. The support and the kindness shown to my wife are the main reasons that I somehow made it through this somber and distressful period, and I humbly thank you all. You are among the very best in society, which will always benefit from your knowledge, skill, and sympathy. Empathy is important here in a world that often lacks this trait when it needs it the most. We often are incapable or unwilling to understand another's situation. Laurie was always wonderfully empathetic. I believe that her empathy was the basis of how she lived. In interactions with anyone, her approach was always in an unbiased, non-judgmental, and sympathetic manner. Actually, she let me handle the judgment part, and then corrected my many misjudgments. Her approach to issues and problems was pragmatic, usually very successful, and involved little, if any, confrontation. I learned a lot from her. In many quarters of society today, empathy is often considered a weakness, although I suspect that many in this room, and anyone deeply affected by Laurie's passing, are likely to view sympathy to be a great strength that can open up wonderful opportunities in attempting to solve problems in humane and just manner, while reducing the prevailing stress level of life. And to be sure, one of Laurie's goals was to reduce stress for others and for herself, given the many important decisions that have to be made in the treatment of patients. The two extremely important methods that she used for trying to keep work at work were travel and reading. Let's take travel first. To say that Laurie loved to travel is a gross understatement. Even better than traveling was being able to travel with friends. A large fraction of the pictures shown in the slideshow captured Laurie in her element, travel. Does that take viewing a large number of these pictures to convince you that she was having the time of her life, and she really valued sharing all of this joy and enthusiasm with fellow travelers? I, on the other hand, am a much more reticent traveler, although I must say that one could not ask for a better travel companion than Laurie, and I credit the many trips with her over the last 4 decades as providing some of my best and most vivid memories. My mild reluctance to get on a plane to go somewhere interesting, as often as Laurie wanted to, was overcome in her typical style. I was enticed by concerts involving the music that I obsess over, and that and provides, my preferred method of stress relief. It was nearly a perfect long-term arrangement. She got to see the sights, great architecture, all manner of museums and fashion trends, and enjoy great food for the price of some classical music concerts. But what a price. If having to battle in the trenches of hospital intensive care units as a young nurse and enduring metastatic pancreatic cancer and its treatment didn't convince you of Laurie's overall toughness, here is the short list of what she was able to survive in various concert halls. Parsifal and Tristan and Isolde at the Met in New York City, Goethe Dameron in Zurich, and an opera house that Wagner himself briefly considered for staging the premiere of his Ring cycle, Mahler, Brahms, and Prokofiev at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., Beethoven in the Sydney Opera House, Bruckner in New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, Boston, San Francisco, and Berlin. Shostakovich in Los Angeles and Phoenix, Mahler in Chicago and New York City, all of the Sibelius symphonies in Toronto, Verdi's Requiem and Vivaldi's The Four Seasons performed in beautiful cathedrals of Paris, the Vienna Philharmonic performing Bruckner, Mahler, and Ninth symphonies in Carnegie Hall. Now, all of these concerts were completely shifted in favor of the music that I like to listen to. She did, for instance, get to hear a piano recital of her beloved Chopin in a Parisian church that predated the discovery of the New World by a few hundred years. As far as books and reading go, Laurie deeply loved books and the places that allow you to check them out to read. I remember spending a part of an afternoon in J.P. Morgan's personal library in New York City, gawking at the ornate architecture and opulent bookshelves stuffed with all sorts of rare books and manuscripts. Laurie would have lived there if allowed. But there probably was a concert to get to that day anyway. Morgan employed a full-time librarian to stock his library with old, rare, and very expensive books, which conjures up a strange combination of the severe school librarian that we all remember from childhood and Indiana Jones. It would have been an ideal job for Laurie, books plus travel. And like Jones, Laurie didn't much care for snakes or Nazis. Laurie had the ability to alternate between several books before finishing any of them. This is a disturbing skill for a mundane practicing serialist like me. And worse, several of her friends are also able to do this. Don't try to deny it. I know who you are. In any event, I would like to sincerely thank those that donated to the Pima County Public Library in Laurie's name. She would have been most impressed and thankful by this gesture. Libraries were her cathedrals, not that she didn't appreciate touring through a real cathedral during her travels. My final thank you during this memorial is to all of you, both in attendance or watching the live stream, and those important individuals in Laurie's life who passed on before her. To one degree or another, you influenced Laurie and helped her develop into the person that she ultimately became. There is no doubt, in turn, she influenced all of us and undoubtedly made us better. There is no doubt that we have lost someone that was willing and able to help us when we needed it, making our lives more comfortable, kinder, and a better experience. As with the passing of all people with such a generous legacy of friendship and kindness, Laurie's loss is untimely and it hurts. But as always, we need to and will carry on. I encourage you not to dwell on her loss, but to use your memories of Laurie to help you continue to enrich your lives and remember that you played an important role ensuring that she had the time of her life while she was with us. Thank you all, and if anybody else would like to say some words, please feel free to come up. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Denise Cummings. I'm Paul's sister, and Laurie was my sister-in-law. I like to read a poem to remember that Laurie will always be with us. Poem by Mary Elizabeth Fry. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond woods on the snow. I am the sun on ripe and green, and I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awake in morning's hush, I am the swift, uplifting rush, quiet birds in the circling flight. I am the soft starshine at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die.
I'm Laurie's older sister, Julie. And while it's with a heavy heart that I stand before you, my heart's also filled with gratitude for the opportunity to reflect on my sister's life. We're here to celebrate a life that shined brightly and brought forth and laughter to those of us who were lucky enough to have known her. I was 1 year and 11 months older than Laurie, and I've had the privilege of being able to call her my little sister. Laurie was a kind person who wore her heart on her sleeve, possessing a sweetness and an adventurous spirit, and an unparalleled love for life. Her journey was marked by many milestones and adventures that I'd like to take a moment to share with you. She filled her life with passion and drive and always strived for the best in everything that she did. Her academic pursuit always reflected her dedication and brilliance. Laurie was a little brainiac. She achieved a 4.0 GPA throughout her academic journey. And I remember that she would cry if she got anything less than an A. It was a reflection on how determined and dedicated she was to excel in everything that she undertook. Laurie's life was beautifully enriched when she married the love of her life, Paul, in 1991. She embraced the role as a partner with immense love and adventurous spirit. Their life together was filled with laughter and love and the kind of support that inspires everybody around her. One particular moment that I'd like to share with you was when Laurie and I were in Slovenia, and we were planning on going down the ski hill. And we skied out of Italy to Switzerland, and we forgot to bring our passports. And we got down to the bottom of the ski hill, and they wouldn't let us on the chairlift. And she looked at me, and Laurie had asthma. You don't know her as a child, but if we didn't have her inhaler with her, she would go into a full-blown asthma attack. So, me being the older sister, she always expected me to take care of her when we were little. Yep, and Nicole, yeah, I got this. And we go, let's just ski down to the bottom of the hill. So we did, and we found another chair that was running. I go, let's get it. Nobody was manning it. And it was at the end of the ski season, and there was a big snowstorm. And I said, she goes, well, what happens if they turn it off and we're in the chair? I go, I'll jump off. I'll go get help and we'll come back and get you. And she believed me. So we got her to the top of the chairlift, And then somehow we found another route down and we skied back to another chairlift that led us back up and we skied on the Italy side and we told our parents. And my mom just looked at me like, Julie? Like, sorry, we were playing leapfrog and we weren't paying attention as to where we were going. But we made it back up there. And then the next morning we had another snowstorm. It was the last day the hotel was going to be open and it snowed up over the cars, so they had to dig our cars out. We were out sledding with all the waiters and waitresses. We had a good time. But in closing, I turned to this local word for James Taylor, the glory and grace. I always thought I'd think of it. Words that could easily be. To reluctant to say goodbye to someone who here, or she didn't adhere to an organized faith or form of belief, where he had so much unspeakable faith in the goodness of life itself, a spirit truly her own. Anyway, I want to thank all of you for coming and being part of her life. Thank you for being such a dear part of her life. All of those years, Liz has been part of Laurie's life since she was in high school. And so she's like a little sister. Anyway, thank you all.
Thank you.
I'm going to try to see you. In 1977, I asked a question that changed my life. We were in ecological biology, and the teacher said, you have to find a partner. And Laurie, I knew she was new, I just turned to her and said, you would be my partner. I live in Tucson because I know Laurie. I went to Antarctica because I know Laurie. I'm at this worthless man. Because I met Laurie. And she loved you so much. She was wonderful. She was sometimes I'm so glad to know her, and I just have memories of her for almost 50 years. Thank you.
I'm Louise Doran, and I'm kindness and caring are two words that describe Laurie. And we met at Pima Community College, where we were nursing instructors. And it became pretty apparent that you weren't going anywhere in nursing education without your master's. So I said, Laurie, we got to get it together, you know, and we, not at the same time, we did what University of Arizona College of Nursing said, you can't finish all this in taking one course at a time. Laurie and I said, just watch us. So we took one course at a time, finished in 4 years, and Laurie dedicated her master's thesis to me because I encouraged her to get it together. We remained friends for the next 40 years, and this is even pre-Paul. And she was my go-to person. If I ever had a problem, I needed any advice, I called Laurie. And we became family friends because my husband was an amateur astronomer, not just interested in astronomy. He'd been a navigator and he learned how to shoot the stars when he was in the Air Force. And so they became friends, but there's one thing that they didn't like. They both like classical music, but Mahler and Bruckner was a party. My husband couldn't stand it, and his Paul mentioned that's his favorite.
Security, please.
Laurie and Paul went to Antarctica and came back, and I was so enthralled with all the details of their wonderful trip. The next day, Laurie called he says, I just checked this out with Paul, and we're gonna move into your house and take care of your husband. Now, my husband has dementia, Alzheimer's type. Now, who in the world would come to your house to take care of your demented husband for 2 weeks? Well, it didn't take me long to say, you will? I went to Antarctica and they took care of Don, and it's just been a wonderful friendship and love for over 40 years.
Hello, my name is Eileen Watkins, and I am cousins with Paul and Denise. On the Smith side of the family, Paul is the oldest cousin, Denise is number 2, I'm number 3, and my sister Carolyn in the front row is a little bit further down the line. I'm not very good with chronology or math or any of that. Anyhow, my sister Carolyn, her husband Randy, and Bruce and I are representing all the cousins. And I think there's 13 of us, is that right? So Paul, we're here representing the whole cousin contingent. And I wanted to say that when Laurie joined the family, it was the most seamless, easy joining of the Smith clan that I could imagine. She just fit in like flint, and it was easy to tell that she was so caring, so positive, enthusiastic, and a real authentic person. And I'm so happy to have known her all these years.
Hi, my name is Eileen Manley, and come next. I met Laurie somewhere in the 94 range because we went to nurse practitioner school together, and she helped me immensely with my thesis, which massive song for the rest of my life. But anyway, it developed, it's like one of those things that you get some roller coaster and continues, and you don't think you're gonna remember everybody. And you did forget a few of your classmates a little bit, but then she's just always been in my life since then, here and there, not consistently, and then later it would be quite consistent. And we did spend a lot of COVID on Zoom, and Barbara, so we were doing yoga together that way. And then Pilates. Sorry about that. See, I did that one really well. So. Anyway, I just wanted to say, my husband and I connect to him. It was like a very natural, very earthy kind of relationship, and it continued. And she was so curious, and she would end up influencing me to get into the club more into Jim and Minnow show sometimes, her knitting, so many things, and the lunches with Barbara at, the sandwich place, so, yeah, that was my life. I'm so glad that we're in it. Fall. Anyway, that's just my story. Thank you.
I'm Aunt Laurie's nephew, and I just wanted to come up and share a few things about maybe a different relationship that she probably didn't have with very many people. Everybody knows her as Laurie. To me, she was Aunt Lola. You could always catch her with a smile and her Secret Service walking behind her. Uncle Paul was probably the more straightforward type, and he would only crack a smile if you seemed to dig into him with some sharp wit. Aunt Lola, on the other hand, was always warm, always smiling, and she indulged me in a lot of my silly questions. I think several of you are also medical professionals and might get a kick out of it, but I recently, Aunt Lola got an iPhone to where she started texting. And she became much more frequent with the texting as her and I developed a stronger relationship from a distance. There were times where I had medical questions and I thought to myself, who could be the one to answer these with extreme unbiased? And Aunt Lola was always that person. So most recently, I think in the fall of 24, I was exploring the depths of Google and the effects of marijuana use. I reached out to Aunt Lola and I asked her, is it true that it cures cancer? And she responded, no. So my follow-up question was, well, I read something on long-term intermittent fasting, and there's something about cells and eating some of the bone marrow and some of the cancerous cells that develop in bone marrow. And I asked, so if I don't eat, will that cure cancer? And she said, no. And she didn't give me very much to reply on or to rebut on. So I started antagonizing her a little bit and asking her a few more questions about the combination of the two. And she made sure to let me know that while she didn't experiment very much with marijuana or the types of marijuana, and she didn't starve herself, that she couldn't really give me the full medical opinion, but she encouraged me to read some books. It was more surprising to hear how Aunt Lola passed because during that time, she herself was going through a fight with cancer. And she didn't care to bring any of that darkness or sadness into anybody else's life throughout her journey. So she kept it to herself, but she offered very mindful opinions. One of the more intriguing things to me was I watched the movie Interstellar, and again, some of you telescope nerds would probably also remind me is that the black hole theory from that movie doesn't stand up to science. I had asked her, how does Matthew McConaughey get to go in there if gravity's so tight? And she said she would ask Uncle Paul. She doesn't think that it was very science-based, but she gave me a response, and I told her that, I figured Matthew McConaughey had already passed away because when he went in there, he said that you would see your children in life in flash before your eyes. And Lola responded with a very unusual remark, but it kind of caught my attention. My wife and I, we don't have kids. We probably won't ever have kids. And I think that there's a very nice relationship between myself and Aunt Lola through some of that. But her response said, well, where do we go? Or what do we see because we don't have kids? And it kind of shocked me a little bit because I thought about it, and honestly, I don't know. But I did tell her that, well, I assume that wherever we go, we'll be able to find each other and laugh at the people that do have kids and their She had a lot of other great qualities that everybody here is aware of, but she had extreme compassion, and she would stand up to some of the toughest tests. I had a motorcycle accident in 2013 when we lived in Phoenix, and I had some pretty severe injuries. When I got out of the hospital, I couldn't walk, and had a broken femur and a broken hip and some really bad lacerations. Grandma, this is another weird nickname, but we called her White Grandma because she had white hair. Imagine that one now. White Grandma and hello. My mom and my wife were all in the room, and if you ever met my grandma, she was not a lady that showed very much PA. She was very classy, and that showed through both of her kids. They taught them etiquette. I'm pretty sure they actually went to etiquette class, but there was a time where I was taking a lot of painkillers, and I was having trouble even just going to the bathroom and doing simple tests. And when they showed up, there was a moment where basically I was having some stomach issues, and it needed to be resolved with a suppository. And now there are 3 women that I've known my entire life standing in there arguing over who gets to live next. Meanwhile, I'm still in the bathroom, declothed, leaning over the walker in pain. And Aunt Lolo, well, Grandma, without hesitation, just chuckled to herself, turned around, walked downstairs, and sat at the table by herself. Aunt Lolo, without hesitation, snatched up the suppository, and she gave me medical instructions on how she was going to administer it. And next thing I know, my aunt was double knuckle deep inside me. As embarrassing and terrible as that sounds, it's one of my most cherished memories. A time of need, my aunt showed up. A desperate time of need, my aunt showed up. But it does mark a very weird time in my life where I don't think that there's anything I need to hide anymore, because my aunt has pretty much seen it all. So. Those are just a few of the memories that I have with her. Among many others throughout my childhood, her and Uncle Paul would consistently visit every single year, every Thanksgiving, every Christmas. If they weren't there on the days, they were there soon after. They brought gifts. They sent us Christmas cards, birthday cards, every single year. Aunt Lola was very academic. She pushed me to continue going to school every time I graduated, and then there was another level that she wanted me to get to. I eventually got my master's degree, and it was something that I was very proud of. I have my military background that she stayed in touch with me through 2 deployments, either by email, letter, or phone call when we could. When I was out of the military, again, pushed a lot of the things that my grandpa had pushed onto her, she pushed onto me, and I cherished that because I was very close with my grandpa. But one thing that I had told her was that I was finally thinking I was going to go out and get my pilot's license because my entire childhood was filled with I wanted to be a pilot. Fortunately, I didn't have the grades in high school to where I could live up to those expectations, but I got as close as I could where I was working on a flight deck. So I felt like I really satisfied it. Until recently when I felt like in talking to her, she figured out how to use FaceTime, and she was telling me all of the things that she was enjoying. Her book clubs, her bike riding, the renovation that they had started. She had so many things that she still wanted to accomplish, and then she brought it up again recently. I told her that I would look into it. It was something that I had gotten into. So, as kind of a last promise to her that I'll hold on to and see through is I wanted to become at least a pilot, get my pilot's license. And that's something that I think she was able to do without effort, is she pushed people to be better. And even when she's not here, still makes me think about how I could be better. So, thank you guys for
Just a quick insert here. I was close many times during that last speech by Jeremy to call security. But none of the topics were as serious as bad mouthing workers. So, is there anyone else? Well, I should point out that I carried Jeremy through the Albuquerque Zoo on my shoulders for an entire afternoon once. And, yeah, and, you know.
So, hopefully I won't diss you too bad. I'm Sam Barton. I'm an astronomer, and that's how I've known Paul most of my career from the mid-'80s. And I met Laurie back in the sort of late '80s as well. I think she was dating another astronomer at the time. And, anyway, so I've known them.
Yeah, keep that hanging.
Anyway, I just want to read a bit from my wife, Linda, and myself. My wife wanted to pass along that Laurie's kindness and generosity will never be forgotten. It was always a pleasure to see her and you, Paul, at the various places that we have lived. In particularly, when we lived in Australia, Laurie was able to get Linda some samples of a new migraine medicine that she wasn't able to secure in Australia. I think she smuggled them in her suitcase. And then Linda also cherishes the various book recommendations that Laurie offered her. And because my wife is also one of those that can read 20 books at the same time and keep it all in her head and then tell me about each one. And then also she is a recipient of some sheet music awards as well. We visited a few months ago. So as I said, I first met Laurie in the late '80s. I remember that she was always brimming with bubbly optimism. And when I bought my home here my first home in Tucson, up on Desert Foothills Drive, and I named it Rancho de la Tortuga, Laurie painted a turtle sigil for it. And gave it to me at a housewarming. She became a very good friend, and she became the wife of another very good friend. That's Paul. and she also tolerated Paul's and my deep and dark discussions on politics, and so where we are today, predicting this 30 years ago. So I appreciated that she used the various places that we lived around the world as a guide for her travels. Clearly it wasn't the only guide. She's clearly been in many other places as well. She would always ask me, so Sam, where are you guys gonna go to next for your work? And because we wanted to visit. And I think she also was going to offer up some ideas. And so say, well, I don't think they have an observatory there. Fair job. But they visited us in Australia, New Mexico, Germany, and then after we moved to Hawaii, since they already were 152nd Hawaiian citizens. We spent some time with them there. Oh, yeah, New Mexico, as it said, yeah. She even invited me to join them on one of their jaunts to Europe to go visit them in Paris when I was getting ready to leave and move from Germany to Hawaii. Her talents as a tour guide were also very exemplary. She was very thorough at picking out all the great and historical places to visit. And so she was a wonderful travel guide. Paul, on the other hand, who I fully appreciated them, his idea of traveling was to go to Phoenix so that we could watch his hockey team. But Paul, keep in mind, those were just as memorable events for me. Anyway, Laurie, we're really going to miss you. Thanks.
I'm Laurie's friend Nancy. I would like to read a poem to you from my favorite poet, John O'Donohue. And it's not too long. It's called On the Death of the Beloved. Though we need to weep your loss, we dwell in that safe place in our hearts, where no storm or night or pain can reach you. Your love was like the dawn, brightening over our lives, awakening beneath the dark a further adventure of color. The sound of your voice found for us a new music that brightened everything. Whatever you unfolded in your gaze quickened in the joy of its being. You placed smiles like flowers on the altar of the heart. Your mind always sparkled with wonder of things. Though your days here were brief, your spirit was live, awake, complete. We look towards each other no longer from the old distance of our names. Now you dwell inside, the rhythm of breath, as close to us as we are to ourselves. Though we cannot see you with outward eyes, we know our soul's gaze is upon your face, smiling back at us from within everything, to which we bring our best refinement. Let us not look for you only in memory, where we would grow lonely without you. You would want us to find you in presence, beside us when beauty brightens, when kindness glows, and music echoes eternal tones. When orchids brighten the earth, darkest winters turn to spring. May the stars breathe flower of hope in every heart that loves you. May you continue to inspire us, to enter every day with a generous heart, to serve the call of courage and love, until we see your beautiful face again, in that land where there is no more separation, where all tears will be wiped from our mind, and where we will never lose you again.
That's cool.
I hadn't planned on saying anything, but I'm from an era that a lot of you didn't know Laurie. My name's Debbie. I've been Laurie for 60 years. And I remember her third birthday party. And I used to tell people it was her second, and she said, no, it was the third. I was two when we met. But I remember her first phone number, 449-4184, because we called each other all the time, Julie and Laurie and I, all the time. Over the years, she continued we traveled together
I visited her, she visited me. We went to Italy one time when she was there, her dad was stationed there. And we were in a small church, and Laurie would have been 13 maybe at that time. And we were in a church looking at a Michelangelo sculpture, and a couple of little Italian boys had been following us around flirting, and Laurie was getting really impatient with them. And this was kind of uncharacteristic for her. She was wearing those wooden-soled Dr. Schultz sandals. She took one off. She holds it over her head and she says, "Get the hell out of here." And they took off. So that was, and then she came to visit us when my husband and I lived in Hong Kong, and we had a baby at that time. Kelly was about 1. And Erica and Paul Laurie and Paul came to visit us. And we went out, we could have gone to see all kinds of things. But Laurie said, let's do something the baby wants to do. And so we went to this place called Tiger Balm Gardens, which was gaudy and colorful and bizarre, and we had the best time. And that was Laurie's idea to do that. Many years later, they came to visit us at our home in Colorado, and I had just had a number of plants arrive that I was going to plant. And we were all set to go do something fun and touristy, and Laurie said, no, we're going to plant those plants. So she spent, I guess, just the one day they were there with us, sitting in the hot sun, digging, volunteering to put my plants in. I felt a little bit like Tom Sawyer. And every day I look at that garden. And I remember Laurie. And I will continue to look at it because they're beautiful. I'll send you some photos. Thank you.
Can you hear me with the mask?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm going to talk without coughing. Barbara, Laurie and I met. Paul and my husband shared a office, Paul's first job in astronomy. And we got to know Paul, and then we met Laurie, and they were part of the family starting when our kids were very young. We went on trips together, we had a Sunday dinner together, at the Pizza Hut. It continued on, and toward the end, Laurie and I bonded over watching TV and knitting. She was my knitting companion, my sewing companion, my health consultant, and my eating companion. She went to gentlemen shows, and I have another example of how really wonderful she was. A friend of ours who lives alone, and this was just after the pandemic. People were cautious about going out. A friend who lived rather remotely outside Seattle needed to have a knee replacement, and we were worried about her being alone during the post-op period. So Laurie said she and I should go up and stay with her. So we did. And took care of her for the first 3 or 4 days until she was sure she could manage on her own. And had a wonderful time doing it. I've got to say that Laurie is absolutely the best travel companion I've ever known. We went to New York with her and Paul, and our normal trips were rather chaotic and unplanned. But with Laurie,
she saw to it that we had tickets to every place we wanted to go in advance, that we had our all schedules, would all fit, that it all worked, and we all had a wonderful time, and that was what it was like traveling with Laura. And I will miss her unfathomable amount.
I think the mic is on, dead. Talk the mic out of it. And so I again want to thank everyone, those that came up and gave us some words. They were wonderful. And really shows the depth of the friendships that Laurie helped create with you. But she had a remarkable group of people to be friends with. And so I want to thank you all for coming. We actually have this room another hour. So, people want to stay and socialize and do what you want to. But there will be no bad mouthing with Anton Brooker. Let's make that clear. But really, I do appreciate this, and thank you all for coming. And we should all from here carry on with our lives, knowing that Laurie was a great person to know and to live with. And we'll leave it at that. Thank you. Thank you.
I know, I was like, man, I gotta get back. I really do. And travel too. I'm kind of.
Should have known better than that. That was just a fish mistake. I don't know how long I've been doing this.
No,
So Brent heard like,
I gotta figure out how to do it.
You know, oh, yeah. It sounds cool. It's pretty. I'm gonna give up also another drop off stuff in that chairs. I don't know what it's gonna feel for me. It's cool. I did it. Oh, I know. I thought lot about it. What impacts can you have? You know, in life, what you do, and so how did this Oh, come on. Yeah. Well, here's. There we go. Yeah, I know. It's Joe. Yes, I know you're looking at too. Okay, I'm going to try to do it. Nice to see you. I'm on key. I bounce around with everything. We like here. Yeah, I got a ways to go. I can tell by looking at I'm trying to learn the material. How to pull the ripcord. And well, you too.
Oh, I started counting down 10 years ago.
Yeah, you got the timer you put on the wall. The numbers are changing.
There's a website I go to, parties, and I go and look at it.
Yeah.
No, it was just, I'm not sure why exactly we put those lines there.
I told him to put it on the try the back right. Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
Too many people. Send them a note to his house.
King cheese cake. I can't believe that she did the different strong Laurie after that. Still wound up with one. Oh, yeah. That's crazy. Who would give two astronomers a chance? You think after one, you're like, that's it. All right.
So Laurie is standing in front of this, and this was people say, "Oh God, boob goes down." Boobs.
This is Gary's better half. All right, see you guys. What's that? Yeah. Because it's listening. No, imagine having an Alexa. I would go. I'll walk out.
I don't want to find that to get it like.
Oh, yes, now that sounds like. I'm gonna walk over the house. Well, I mean, there's this tomato dishes that I didn't get, right? There's
Yeah, let's take it. Never met the person. That's right. Yeah, I mean, but
Well. Look at our faculty. No, I mean, yeah, it is, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I know. Some of us trying to so far, and he said, absolutely not. There's a phrase that says, committed to now, this week also scholarship direction yeah, positives on some side, negatives on other. No. Against it. It's frustrating for people that see things like especially which have north south. Next thing you know, there's Americans that take care of the bicycles.
Oh, I guess it is. Hello, cousins. Well, they can see us, but we can't see that. So.
You want me to tell them though? I mean, let me just see if it's working.
Oh, it was. Oh, Kate didn't put it on. Kate did it. She didn't put it on the family. She says hi. Oh, she says hi.
Okay.
No, we're on.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. That's good.
And as I
So Ann saw it.
What's that?
Ann saw it.
Oh, is he here?
We'll see in a little bit.
This is where.
It better get. Thursday, 12 degrees.
I do remember how I was using.
Yeah, there was some delays. Yeah, we left at 12:30. Something like that. On the way out.
No, probably not.
Sorry, yeah. No, you're fine.
Yeah.
No, that's not good.
So she knows.
Sorry.
She's in a lot of pictures.
Yeah, well, it's a few memory places.
So you're trying to hire, so you're still finishing an instrument or something?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, what time is the, so he's heading this place till noon, right? And then he said to go to the house like at 1 o'clock or something.
Yeah.
So what, there are at least 15 people who want to do it. If they would ever partner with you.
Hey, text us every day. We'll bring whatever we stuff.
Way past that. You're crazy.
So now you have to.
Now I stop.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe try to help you pull it. And then you'll say, I have to retire.
Like the email from mom says,
Things correctly and helping.
even my little speech,
It was very nice.
just, if they might end up not.
But at least in the place he was.
So, yes.
Yeah, right, but at least in the place he was.
This is all they have to sign.
One of the weirdest things you can imagine is this friend that we have who, his wife
So you
died.
guys all going
2 years ago.
I'm probably
Anyhow, he moved back in with his daughters in Chicago into a
I know
tribe.
Oh, yeah.
It turns out that he has a picture of my, the address.
It's a little bit of a tight,
And I've got
somebody in a truck
a great grandfather.
So you
Lived
if you're doing a U-turn, it's like,
just watch.
right?
Still
Oh, 100 years, yeah.
He started in 1904.
I can't start to do it. I'm just thinking about.
Yeah.
Lisbon Theater was there.
Oh, okay.
It's gone now, 1321.
All right. Yeah, that was quite a lot.
Yeah, and that farm and Bailey.
We got, I apologize. Sure if I
The building was 4
It's I forget to talk to him. I don't think he should be. Just like his, right. That's why I was using. But then he's instead of Buffalo, just oh my God. Oh my God. And you both have fun. And you both have fun. Oh, just politically, he knows how to be there. Yeah, you know his team. That's right.
With my
Yeah,
yeah, okay, that's something, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's because I live there.
He wants to.
All right. Yeah, mine, right.
He's, you know, the Northwest Freeway. Whatever. That's where my mother grew up. Oh, he's getting insurance.
Well, that's what I was
All fighters together.
So I was just saying, it's maybe I could turn to, you know, stories about how somebody's studying something. So, Okay, that's me, it's fine. It's just reflecting my.
You're.
When people start saying, we say, oh, Sam, this.
Who's saying?
I say his father of mine.
I still remember when you had all the fibers out.
I keep trying to do it, they don't use, and they told me, when I was there, I was supposed to help Sam.
Well, they probably did tell me that, and they
I mean, I had something like this many years ago. And what I would watch for too.
I was looking forward to it.
You know, you had a good night, you had a night's sleep. I didn't know that. Sometime during the day. Just
Basically,
just run out of energy.
just
Then it's time to really start seeing something. Because I mean, the thing to watch for is known to.
Right.
Yeah. That was one.
I worked with Nessie.
Yeah, well.
Just as the support, part of the support.
Help.
But I never was.
No, I don't think so. So take it to place of.
I never worked with. I never worked with school. Working with hydro on the farm. Until they decided they were going to put me in with hydro on the